Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're cracking open a communications guide. On the surface, it looks like it's purely for parents, It's based on the principles from How to Talk so little kids will listen.
Right. But when you actually dive into the notes,
Yeah.
the summaries,
Mhm.
there's something much deeper there.
Exactly. It turns out it's this, well, fantastic masterclass in leadership management. Honestly, just dealing with other adults.
It really is kind of a shortcut, isn't it? Because these strategies, the ones for handling, say, a toddler's meltdown, they tap into really fundamental human psychology.
Uh-huh.
It's not about tricking people or manipulation. It's about genuine connection. So our mission here is to pull out that transferable gold, stuff you can use.
Yeah, whether you're running a board meeting or, trying to connect with that team member who always seems resistant.
Precisely.
And the core idea, the absolute foundation of this whole thing is shifting how we communicate, moving away from just tackling the behavior.
And focusing instead on the emotion that's underneath it.
Yeah. And the stakes are, well, they're pretty high. There's this foundational quote that really hits home. The way we talk to our children becomes their inner voice.
Wow. And just think about translating that to work.
Yeah.
The feedback you give, or maybe the validation you don't give your team,
Yeah.
it genuinely shapes how they see themselves professionally.
Absolutely.
And the reason most communication attempts fail, whether it's, like you said, a kid wanting a cookie or
Yeah.
a project manager just losing it over scope creep, it boils down to something simple. We can't behave right when we don't feel right.
That's it. If you don't handle the frustration first, or the fear, or the stress, cooperation is basically off the table.
Yeah, you're just fighting symptoms at that point.
Right.
Like treating a cough but ignoring the underlying illness.
Right. You got to get to the cause. So let's start right there, section 1. This whole power of acknowledgement. Because honestly, it feels like it goes against everything we're usually told to do.
It really does. Our gut instinct, when someone's showing big negative feelings, sadness, anger, you name it, is often to try and, well, push it away, right?
Yeah, diminish it, correct it. Tell them don't dwell on it, be positive.
We think we shouldn't give that negativity any power.
Exactly.
But the source material we looked at, it's very clear.
Yeah.
That instinct, it leads us completely astray. It's actually detrimental.
How so?
Well, when feelings get dismissed, the person just feels unheard. And often what happens, they actually escalate. They get louder or more upset,
Yeah.
just trying to prove that, yes, they are really distressed.
Okay.
But on the flip side, when a feeling is genuinely acknowledged, they feel understood almost instantly. That internal voice shifts from nobody gets it to
Okay, she understands me. I feel better.
exactly. And that feeling of relief, that understanding, that's the crucial first step.
Yeah.
It actually helps build resilience.
So how do we do that? How do we actually do the validating, especially when, we're busy or maybe even annoyed ourselves?
Well, the notes break it down into a pretty simple three-part formula.
Yeah.
Really actionable. First, and this is maybe the hardest part, you have to resist that immediate urge to contradict or solve the problem. Just bite your tongue. Put down the phone. Pause.
Okay, resist the fix-it urge.
Yeah.
Got it. What's second?
Second, you just observe or listen. Identify the emotion they're clearly feeling. Are they frustrated, overwhelmed, angry, disappointed?
You don't have to agree why they feel that way, right?
No, not at all. That's key. You just identify the feeling itself. And then third, you name it. You put that emotion into a short, simple sentence, acknowledging it exists.
Okay, let's try a work example. Say an employee missed a big deadline. They come in all defensive, maybe snappy.
Right. The typical manager response might be, that deadline was firm, what happened, kind of accusatory.
Yeah.
But the validation response would be something more like, wow, it sounds like you're feeling really exposed right now, or this seems really overwhelming.
Ah, okay. You're naming their feeling about the situation.
Precisely. And that third step, naming the emotion, that's where the psychological power really kicks in. You're essentially giving them words for their distress.
Which helps them process it.
Exactly. It helps move the feeling out of that primal fight or flight part of the brain, the limbic system.
And into the prefrontal cortex where the thinking happens.
Yes, where problem solving can actually begin. The sources point out if an employee can say, look, I am frustrated because we don't have the resources, instead of just, shutting down or being passive aggressive,
That's a huge win.
a massive win for communication. You're reframing the whole thing.
So we're kind of training people, including ourselves, to express distress with words, not just difficult behavior.
That's a great way to put it.
But what if we mess up? Because let's be honest, we will, especially if we're stressed too.
Oh, absolutely. And the beauty of this whole approach is that it allows for grace. The sources actually encourage the idea of a do-over.
A do-over, like
Yeah.
in games.
Sort of. They use modern terms like hitting Control-Alt-Delete or just saying reset.
Hmm.
If you start off dismissive, you can actually stop, apologize, and say, you know what, let me try that again, and then use more validating language.
Hmm. That's powerful in itself. It models accountability.
And emotional correction, yeah. Which may be the most valuable lesson you can teach or model.
Okay, that leads perfectly into the next big challenge. Once you've acknowledged the feeling, built that bit of connection, how do you actually get cooperation?
Ah, yes. Section 2, engaging cooperation.
Hmm.
This tackles that fundamental issue of control versus collaboration.
And the pitfalls of just ordering people around.
It's such a core insight from the sources. Nobody likes to be ordered around. Simple as that. And it's not about being childish. It's about wanting autonomy.
I loved that anecdote in the notes. I think it was from a parent, but it applies universally. Even if I want to do something, as soon as somebody tells me to do it, I don't want to do it anymore.
Exactly. It explains so much workplace resistance, doesn't it? Even a reasonable request can trigger that pushback if it feels like an order. It becomes a fight for agency.
Yeah.
And there's research cited in the sources that backs this up. Studies with kids showed that the ones who weren't constantly micromanaged, who had some space to initiate things themselves,
They were more likely to cooperate later.
significantly more likely to comply with simple requests, like cleaning up, compared to kids in really rigidly controlled environments.
The parallel to the workplace is just staring us in the face. Constant direction, constant oversight.
It breeds that deep internal resistance, even in motivated adults.
Okay, so if direct orders are out, or at least used very sparingly, what are the tools? How do we inspire cooperation without just demanding it?
The sources offer some wonderfully creative and, frankly, more effective alternatives. First up, be playful.
Playful. At work.
Yeah, within reason, obviously. But you can shift the dynamic. Use a silly voice sometimes. Make a mundane task feel like a bit of a game. Or even pretend to be the incompetent one who needs their expert help.
Ah, so you let them step into the expert or leader role.
Exactly. It diffuses the power struggle instantly,
Okay, what else?
offering acceptable choices. This is a classic, but the key is both options have to be genuinely acceptable to you.
Right. Don't offer a fake choice where you only want one answer.
No, that breeds cynicism fast. So instead of, you need to finish this report right now, it's, hey, would you prefer to tackle the budget sheet first or work on the presentation slides?
Agency granted, but the necessary work still gets done.
Nice. And another one I really like, especially because it counters the urge to lecture, is the say it with a word technique.
Tell me more.
Instead of a long explanation about why something's wrong or inefficient, you just describe what you see or state your feeling using a single word or a very short phrase. Keep it non-accusatory.
Okay, so example. Shared drive is a mess instead of a long email.
You can just pop into the team chat and type, files disorganized. Or maybe, if it's affecting you personally, use a careful I statement like, I feel a bit stressed when I can't find the documents.
And you avoid the word you.
Critically, yes.
Yeah.
Avoid you, which almost always sounds like an attack. You might still need to take action, maybe start tidying the files yourself as a prompt, but you do it without insult.
Protecting their dignity.
That's the core of it. Protect dignity, cooperation becomes possible. Attack dignity, resistance is pretty much guaranteed.
That focus on dignity really sets up the next shift, doesn't it? Moving away from punishment, even logical consequences, towards actual problem solving.
Yes, Section 3. This is where the sources offer a pretty sharp critique of how we usually handle things when they go wrong.
They argue that punishments, rewards, they often just don't work long term, especially for complex stuff.
Right, and they take particular aim at so-called logical consequences. The logic, they argue, is often, well, pretty subjective.
The sources called it more of a free association, which I thought was brilliant. Like we connect two things that aren't really connected.
Exactly. We convince ourselves, say, if an employee misses a meeting, the logical consequence is they lose privileges for the next one. But is that truly logical?
Or is it just making them suffer a bit, hoping that suffering motivates change?
Pretty much. It often feels arbitrary to the person experiencing it. And what does that teach? Usually resentment, not responsibility.
Okay, so consequences are shaky. What about the other side, rewards?
This is fascinating. The sources discuss the reward paradox. And this is a really striking claim worth paying attention to.
Right.
Research shows that when you offer people large monetary rewards, specifically for tasks that require creativity, cognitive skill, complex thinking, their performance actually declines.
Wait, Really? More money makes you worse. That sounds completely backwards.
It does, doesn't it? But the thinking is, the pressure of that big external reward creates a kind of cognitive tunnel vision. People focus so hard on getting the reward that it interferes with the flexible, exploratory thinking needed for creativity. Rewards apparently only really help with simple mechanical tasks where intense focus is actually good.
Wow. Okay. So for complex problem solving, both punishment and big rewards can backfire.
That seems to be the argument.
So what's the alternative then? If we ditch the sticks and find that carrots are tricky, what's left?
A collaborative problem solving. The sources lay out a six-step method, very team-oriented.
Okay, walk us through it.
First, and this requires patience, wait until the mood is right, genuinely right. You can't do this when someone's still feeling angry or defensive or upset. The storm has to pass.
Right. Let the emotional flood subside.
Second,
Yeah.
acknowledge the feelings that were involved.
Yeah.
Briefly revisit step one, essentially. Yeah, that was clearly frustrating.
Okay. Third.
Describe the problem, but neutrally. No blame. Just, we have a recurring issue with deadlines on this type of project.
Got it. Step 4.
Ask for ideas. Brainstorm. This is key for leadership. You specifically ask for their ideas first. You only offer yours after they've had a chance to contribute.
So you empower them first.
Exactly. Step 5. You work together to decide on solutions that you both genuinely like. Mutually acceptable is crucial here. If they hate the solution, they won't own it.
Makes sense. And the last step.
Try it out. Let's implement this potential solution and see how it goes. The magic here is because they were involved in creating the solution.
They're invested. They want it to work.
Precisely. They feel ownership. They're usually eager to try it. You completely bypass that whole punishment-resentment cycle.
So you're not managing past failures anymore. You're co-creating future success.
Beautifully put. Yes.
Which brings us nicely to some final connections, thinking about the bigger picture things like modeling behavior and the tricky nature of praise.
Absolutely. Because underpinning all these techniques, all this careful communication, is the nonverbal stuff. The example you set.
The old saying, do as I do, not as I say.
Exactly. The sources hammer this home. Kids, employees, whoever they absorb what you model. If you model yelling under pressure, that's what they learn is acceptable. If you model calm problem solving.
That's what they learn too.
Right. And even when we are trying to be positive and supportive with our words, we need to be careful about how we praise. There's a trap there.
The trap of evaluative praise.
Yes. That's praise that judges the person's character or quality. Things like, you're a genius, or you're just the most helpful person ever.
Sounds nice. What's wrong with that?
The sources warn it can create problems. It can make people feel pressured to constantly live up to that label, or, maybe worse, it makes them dependent on that external judgment for their self-worth.
Okay. So what's the better way?
The shift is towards descriptive praise. Instead of judging the person, you describe the action or the effort.
So instead of, you're a perfectionist.
You'd say something like, I noticed you spent an extra hour double-checking those figures, and wow, the report had 0 errors as a result. See the difference?
Yeah, you're praising the work and the outcome, not labeling the person.
Right. It reinforces the effort, the process. It lets them own their success without getting boxed in by a label.
Makes sense.
Ultimately, though, the sources really emphasize that the most powerful tool isn't any single technique. It's the underlying sense of connection.
Just being willing to listen, to consider their feelings and opinions.
Yes. That willingness keeps hearts and minds open. It creates this loop of mutual respect, which is really the fuel for any productive communication.
But there's a big but here, isn't there? A caveat.
A crucial one. None of these tools, no matter how skillfully used, will work if basic biological needs aren't met first.
Like being exhausted or completely overwhelmed.
Exactly. You can't launch into thoughtful, collaborative problem solving if someone's running on empty, or if they're still flooded with stress hormones after a major blow-up or setback.
We need recovery time.
We need recovery time. We need to respect that people can be overwhelmed. Remember that core idea. You can't think straight when you don't feel right. And you certainly can't act right if your whole system is screaming survival mode.
Recognizing those limits is part of the respect then.
A fundamental part of it.
So, synthesizing all this for you, the listener, the real shortcut, the path to better professional communication, seems to be leaving behind that old model. The one based on control, correction, consequences.
Right. And replacing it with empathy, with acknowledgement of feelings, and with this collaborative, let's find a solution together approach.
It definitely sounds like it demands more patience up front, maybe checking our own ego sometimes.
It does.
Yeah.
But the payoff, according to these principles, is huge. Genuine buy-in, real ownership, and ultimately much better results in relationships.
Okay, so here's a final thought we want to leave you with, bringing it back to your world. The source material points out something interesting. Even gentle questions can feel like an interrogation when a child is in distress. Think about that next time a colleague or maybe someone on your team is really struggling. Maybe they've messed up. Maybe they had a setback. What's your first instinct?
Do you jump in with questions? Did you try this? Did you think about that? Did you call person X? Trying to help by advising or investigating.
Or could you try something different? Could you maybe just give them your full, quiet attention, trust them for a moment to process their own feelings? Maybe just stay out of the way of their own recovery and problem solving.
That silent act of trust, of just being present without interrogating. Maybe that's the most powerful communication tool you have in that moment.
Yeah.
Something to mull over.